Guys, tell me if this is right. Have you ever walked into a fast food restaurant recently and you see the menu and you automatically think to yourself, or you say it out loud, how in the world did prices get so expensive? This is ridiculous. It makes no sense, right? If you felt that or you said it to yourself or out loud, let me know in the comments below. The fact is, fast food restaurant prices are crazy high. Even things like school supply lists are getting just out of control nowadays. And it's really getting harder and harder to afford just regular basic living for many Americans. Now, in this video, I just want to break this thing down to you and talk about why it's going on and give you some practical ways where you can fight back and make these high prices sting a little less. Now, I've noticed in the news recently and reading and watching earnings reports that have come out that places like IHOP, Wendy's, Chipotle, Applebee's, all of these food places are openly reporting lower sales and fewer customers. Listen, I've personally driven by a restaurant or a fast food place and said to myself, is that place even open anymore? Because it's like the parking lot is empty. Now, I don't know if you've noticed it, but a lot of people are starting to wake up to these high restaurant prices and higher prices in general. And people are starting to realize that, hey, $15 to $20 for a burger and a fries and a drink is pretty much insanity at this point, when even inflated grocery prices are going to stretch a whole lot further than stopping at that local fast food restaurant. That's just real. And I hear people say, no, the prices of groceries are high too. Look, the prices of groceries are high. I get it. But when you go to Wendy's, you're paying for the uniform, the lights, the building, the real estate. You're paying for the name, the front banner. You're paying for the packaging. You're paying all the overhead that you would not pay if you just buy a couple of pounds of ground turkey and take it home and make your own burgers and buy your bread and have you some ketchup on it, right? A meal for two shouldn't be $30 at McDonald's, right? A dinner for four shouldn't be $70 at Applebee's, for real. It really shouldn't. So when I talk about this home dining thing and eating at home, it's not just about saving money, right? It's about being healthy, right? It's about eating better, preparing your own meals so you know what ingredients is going in there. Like have you ever worked at one of these fast food restaurants and seen behind the scenes? It ain't a pretty sight. If you knew what went on with your burger and fries before it got to your package in the drive-thru, you might not be so apt to want to go buy this burger and fries. Same thing goes for these restaurants. Like, I was a waiter for 3 years, and trust me, I've seen some things happen to food and go on a plate that shouldn't happen to food and go on a plate to get served to people, right? It's not just about the money, but it's about what you eat and your health too. And it's also about just taking control before inflation eats you alive. Now, I'm talking about restaurants, but this thing of prices being out of control trickles over to more than just restaurants, because the same people or parents or families that say no to McDonald's are the same parents that are shaking their head when they got to go buy school supplies, right? It's all a part of the same story. The American family's budget is really under attack in a lot of ways. I just read a story that said that down in Houston, parents are cutting about 10% off of what they spent last year for back to school supplies as opposed to what they're spending this year for back to school supplies, with an average last year being $900 per kid and this year being $800 per kid. Look, that's a lot of money to spend per kid to go back to school. So it's worth maybe using some of these measures to skip the name brand, maybe get a little less than what is on this back to school supply list that every school gives you nowadays, right? These back to school supply lists are really out of control, right? Why does a first grader need to have 15 glue sticks, 40 boxes of Kleenex, and 3 used tires? Like, a lot of families can't afford all that. So you have families already juggling a whole bunch of extra added cost. And it's difficult for families to turn around and have all these back to school supplies ready to rock and roll on the first day of school for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 kids. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, why does all this feel much worse than just a couple of years ago? It's because higher prices. And when prices go up, watch this, prices don't come back down. No matter what happens with your wages and with your salary at your job, the price goes up, it typically ain't coming back down. And right now, there's a whole lot of hidden cost snuck into things that people don't see. And trust me, adding these extra hidden costs in, that stuff is not slowing down. They force you to read the fine print or suffer the consequences. Now look, if I'm gonna speak of the broader economy, let's understand that there still is a threat of these higher tariffs causing prices to go up higher. Now look, that has not happened yet. Let's just be honest. We haven't seen prices surge strictly because of tariffs, right? Now, prices have surged because of the inflation we had a few years ago, and some people would try to blame that on tariffs, but it ain't really tariffs. If you read the reports and you understand economics, tariffs have not had the impact that most people think the tariffs were going to have, at least not yet. So we'll have to wait and see if these tariffs actually start to have an effect on our prices, right? But don't buy into the hype just yet that tariffs are already causing this, because that's to come. We'll see. Now, the other thing on a macroeconomic level is we got this Fed funds rate that has not been lowered, but I believe, and most people believe, that come September in the FOMC, Federal Open Market Committee's meeting in September, they're probably going to cut the Fed funds rate, maybe by 25 basis points, which is 0.25%. Now, what happens when they cut the Fed funds rate? It's supposed to spur some spending, right? Get folks out there spending more money and boost the economy, so to speak. But the problem really comes in when you make money cheaper to borrow. What you're really doing is you're getting people out there to spend. And when you get people out there to spend, that makes demand go up. And basic economics says that when demand goes higher, prices go up. So by cutting the Fed funds rate, that's typically seen as an inflationary thing to do. So when they cut the Fed funds rate, let's see if inflation and prices go higher because of it. Plus the added potential of tariffs also making prices go up. So what I'm saying to you is that things ain't gonna really change too much. Let's just be real about it. So things like buying your groceries and cooking at home, as opposed to paying these crazy prices at fast food restaurants, needs to become the norm, right? More of the norm for the average American family who's just done with these higher prices. Yeah, we got a low unemployment rate, and we know those unemployment rate numbers are skewed with a little bit, and we know the job numbers and labor market numbers are messed with as well. So yeah, we see on paper that we have lower unemployment, but we also know people who are getting laid off left and right. And we look at the stock market, not a banner year for the stock market thus far. It's been okay, hadn't been horrible, but hey, people are still feeling broke. Hey guys, if you're getting value from this information, do me a favor and share the link to this video with someone you know, someone you think could use this valuable information about money. And don't forget to smash the like button below for me. And if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please consider subscribing to my channel. Now, let's get back to the video. So the question is, and the question really becomes for us as just regular consumers and regular investors, is what can we do about it? Like, I don't want to have a video that just talks about the problems and talks about the problems. I want to talk about solutions. What can we do as an individual consumer and investor to not only prepare, but to fight this thing, right? And protect our money when everything feels like it costs more than it used to, because in fact, it does cost more than it used to. So let me talk about a few strategies that we can all do. First, all of us can flip the fast food script. In other words, we can skip the drive-through and cook more at home. I mentioned it earlier, but I think it bears repeating. Like the time that you spend getting in the car, driving to the fast food restaurant, standing in line or sitting in the drive-through, that same time you could spend making sure that the chicken is washed and put in the oven, and having the vegetables and cutting up some vegetables and making sure the potatoes is boiling, or however you prepare them, right? Okay, we know that actually preparing food at home takes a little longer. I get it. But is an extra 30 to 45 minutes in the kitchen worth spending $15 on a meal that could last you 3 or 4 days versus paying $50 or $60 at the local restaurant on food for your family tonight? Yeah, it takes a little longer, but you can save a whole lot more money. Not to mention, on Sunday, you can spend an hour or two getting your meals ready for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at work. So you can have some lunch that you can take from home instead of just popping up and buying that Chipotle for $10 or $15. And like I said earlier, a lot of times when you're cooking at home, you know what's going into food. And one thing I do, I still do to this very day, is I have a food envelope and I have a miscellaneous envelope. And so I have a food envelope for all my grocery money. I have a miscellaneous envelope for all the extras I want to get throughout the 2 weeks or month. In other words, I put aside $150 that says, hey, 3 or 4 times a month, I may want to stop and get me a sandwich somewhere. I may want to stop and get a salad somewhere. I got some money put aside for that in my budget, in cash. And when that envelope is down to zero, I don't spend anymore. That's just my little way of making sure that I have a little extra money in case the urge hits me to stop and get that burrito, right? And then in terms of like back to school, right now in America, we have a lot of kids going back to school, right? So maybe one thing you can do to save on some of that back to school cost is to maybe buy in bulk or buy with other parents or look for clearance deals, look for sales, maybe buy the school supplies instead of buying it at Target, maybe buy it at a Dollar General, right? A store where you can buy it for less. And instead of getting 25 glue sticks for the whole class for the whole year, maybe you can just buy half of what's on the back to school list. Look, I used to be a teacher for almost a decade back in the 90s, and I have 3 grown kids and I have 7 grandkids. So listen, I do understand this. The back to school list is just a wish list for teachers. It's not a gotta have list the first day of school. So maybe you can purchase an abbreviated back to school list so that you're not getting 3 used tires. Maybe you just getting a half of a used tire right now, right? You get what I'm saying? You ain't gotta buy everything on that back to school list today. And then maybe your back to school list can include some type of school supplies that may be on the more generic brand list. Instead of the more popular brands list that cost $4, maybe you can get the cheaper brand for $2. I'm just giving you like really practical things that you can do to cut down on some of the price of stuff right now. And let me go back to food real quick. One thing I like to do is I like Chipotle, burritos, and bowls, right? But what I like to do is just go ahead and buy me some Chipotle ingredients and just make my own Chipotle at home, right? If it's burgers you like, burgers and fries, buy you some potatoes, a 10-pound bag of potatoes, and buy you some ground turkey or ground beef, whatever you eat, and just make you a bunch of these burgers and fries to last you for 3 or 4 days, 2 or 3 days, whatever it is, so you can curb the temptation to go stop somewhere and eat. And look, if you know it's a Saturday and you're going to be out the house for 4 or 5 hours, go ahead and pack you a lunch on a Saturday, even though you're not going to work. Pack you a lunch so you avoid the temptation of stopping at the fast food restaurants that are lined up and down the street where you are. Drop you a few pieces of fruit in that lunch bag on a Saturday or Sunday, whenever you're going to be gone for hours at a time, so that you don't stop by the local fast food restaurant. It's the temptation that gets a lot of people. And how do you avoid temptation? Bring your own lunch filled with all your goodies. Now, for my people who are investors out here, you need to be thinking ahead, like using the roadmap of what you see around you as clues for what's happening in the stock market or what's happening with certain companies. Like I said earlier, Wendy's, Applebee's, IHOP, Chipotle, all of them are reporting down earnings. Well, I notice when I look at certain restaurants, a lot of them are empty in the parking lot. That's a clue that maybe these companies aren't doing as well as they were doing before. It's a clue that families are done with these high prices at these restaurants, right? You need to be looking at clues that's all around you in your face. Pay attention to them. And that's going to help you understand where to be putting your money, right? You're watching out for red flags. And always, as an investor, always look beyond this hype. Right? We get a lot of hype that comes on the TV or our social media feeds about certain stocks and companies. You need to weigh what you're reading with what you're seeing. A lot of times that hype is just manufactured hype that's designed to make you feel a certain way against a company or for a company, or it's designed to make you go buy a stock. Look, if you got enough money, you can put enough Facebook ads out there to actually make it seem like everybody's going to buy McDonald's right now, right? And you need to be thinking about, as an investor, the fact that discount retailers, they win in times like this. They're doing better in times like this. Not all of them, but many of them. And pay attention to what's happening with the Fed funds rate. That's an indication. A rate cut in September might just pop the market off. And next thing you know, everybody's out spending. And next thing you know, prices are going even higher, right? At the end of the day, guys, at the end of the day, what happens at the kitchen table around you in your own house and neighborhood and in your own four walls, that's what's making the difference out here. The menu shock that we see at these fast food restaurants are really like a lesson in economics, right? You don't have to get mad. Don't get mad. Don't get angry at it. Don't go off at the system and be upset about this and that. You don't have to do all that. You just got to get strategic as things shift and things change and you see these prices going crazy. You got to come with some strategy on how to attack this thing so you don't end up poorer and poorer and poorer, right? You got to move and operate strategically and intentionally. Forget about the emotions. The emotions is cool right now. They make you feel human and all that. I get it. But look, the money don't have emotions. Inflation don't care about what you think about it, right? Target ain't tripping on that. Walmart is doing what Walmart got to do to stay Walmart. Yeah, they care about what you think and feel as a consumer, but the bottom line is where your dollar's going. The truth is this, and we got to recognize this truth. American families are making hard choices right now. A lot of them. Eat out or buy groceries and cook at home. Spend 30 minutes going to grab food to eat out or spend 45 minutes cooking at home. Pay the utility bill or get a full list of school supplies right now. These aren't luxury decisions that people are making. These are sort of survival decisions. And I'm telling you, approach them with strategy, not just emotion. But you gotta flip the script. You gotta take control before all these higher and higher prices control you. Listen, if you got value from this quick video, you know what to do. Smash that like button for me. Drop me a comment. Let me know, hey, I got value. Or again, tell me, have you noticed at these fast food restaurants, prices are crazy? Or tell me just one price that you are sick of seeing increase. Let me know that in the comment section below. More than anything though, I need you to share this video with other people who may be feeling this pinch and want to have some strategies to manage it. Guys, don't forget to get your free ebook in the description box below, The 24 Laws of Money. And join our Patreon community and become a VIP and get your one-on-one monthly strategy session. Remember, the best person who's going to take care of that old you is the young you. Guys, take good care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.